So I'm coming here right now because I feel like God has given me a word to share with everybody. Um, Everybody knows what's going on right now in the world. Everybody knows that everything crazy is happening right now. And I'm not gonna get into details because everybody watches the news. I mean, you would have to be to live underneath a rock if you don't know what's going on right now. And it just so happens that I have been reading the Gospels of Jesus Christ. And for one main reason, and that reason is because the Bible says we're supposed to be like Christ. And so I asked myself, I was like, but what is to be Christ-like? How do I be like Christ? And by reading the Gospels, I've learned that so many different ways to be like Christ. And one of them is, the biggest one that's pointed out to me the most, is his love and how to love like Christ, and ask ourselves how to forgive and show mercy and grace like Christ, and especially unconditionally. And that's what's been speaking to me the most, is how can I be like Jesus and love unconditionally no matter what happens to me, no matter if somebody backstabs me, no matter if somebody, even the people closest to me, the people that I love the most, how can I love like Christ despite of it all? And what spoke to me the most was in the Gospel of John, when Peter, let me talk to you about Peter. So Peter is Jesus' disciple, right? Peter is like Jesus' right-hand man. You know, when people think of disciple, they think Peter, right? And so Peter is like Jesus' best friend. He followed him everywhere, right? And all the way to the end, when Jesus was being led on the cross, Peter, instead of being the friend, the brother that they loved each other, they were brothers, and instead of being there for him, instead he denies him. When Jesus is being led on the cross, he denied him not once, he denied him not twice, but 3 times. He denied Christ. And that's so hurtful, to know, man, I loved you, Peter. I loved you for, you were my brother. You were the person that I loved the most, that I cared for. Me and you, we were tight, we were close, man. And then all the way to the end, when I needed you the most, you looked back and you never saw me again. You just denied me, and you allowed me to die. You allowed the enemies of the world to take over. And so that hit me so hard to see that and to read that. And it says in the Gospel of Luke, when Peter, when he remembered, because Jesus predicted it, he said that, oh yeah, you're gonna deny me 3 times. And so Peter was like, nah, whatever, I'm not gonna do that. But later on, after he denies him 3 times, it comes to Peter's remembrance, I just betrayed Jesus, I just backstabbed him, I went against him. And it says in the Gospel of Luke in chapter 22 is that after he betrayed him 3 times, he looked at Jesus and he remembered how he remembered the prophecy that Jesus gave, that he was going to betray him. And so going back to the Gospel of John, this is when Jesus, instead of getting mad at Peter, after Jesus resurrected, he comes back on the earth, right? And he talks to his disciples after he dies, and he goes back to Peter again. And this is the last, like I said, the Gospel of John, the last chapter. Instead of getting mad at Peter and say, oh, you backstabbed me, I loved you, you were my friend, you were my brother. Instead of getting mad at him and saying, oh, you betrayed me, so just start going off on Peter, because I would have. If I was Jesus, I'd probably be like, yo, dude, I loved you, you were my brother, where were you when I was being led to the cross? Why didn't you come fight for me? Why didn't you come save me? In the last chapter of John, one of the titles of the chapter, because they break down chapters into different titles, you know. So the name of this chapter is called, the name of this title is called Jesus Restores Peter. And the key word is restore. So you won't restore something that's whole. You only restore things that are broken, that need to be fixed. And Jesus knew that. Jesus knew that Peter was broken, that he needed to be fixed, that there was something wrong. And it says back when Jesus got denied by Peter, when Peter remembered that he did deny him 3 times, he wept. It said that he wept bitterly and he ran. And going back towards the end after Jesus resurrected, when it says that Jesus restores Peter, it shows that, wow, Peter was broken. That he was this broken person, that he knew, like, I just betrayed the person that I love the most. I backstabbed Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God. I went against him. I led him to his death. I helped him. I wasn't that friend. I wasn't that brother that he needed me to be. And the name of this chapter is called Jesus Restores Peter. And so in this section here, Jesus walks up to Peter and he says, Simon, Peter, Simon, son of Jonah, he said, do you love me? And then Peter says, yes, Lord, I love you. You know that I love you. And then Jesus says, feed my sheep. Jesus asked him again, Peter, do you love me? And Peter says, Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you. Like, what kind of question is this? Like, you know that I love you. And Jesus said to him, tend my sheep. And then Jesus asked him again, the 3rd time, Peter, do you love me? And Peter said, yes, Lord, you know all things. Like, why are you asking me this? You know that I love you. And Jesus says again, feed my sheep. And when I read that, I just broke, because I knew, like, how different is that section right here. Like, most people, when they get backstabbed, when they become hurt, all they want to do is, like, go after them. Like, what did you do to me? Like, you came after me. Like, I loved you as my brother, as my friend, and here you are backstabbing me. Here you are coming against me. Like, we're all in this together, and here you are coming against me. When I needed you the most, when I was at my lowest point, I loved you as my brother, and you didn't love me back. You didn't come for me. Like, Jesus could have easily said that. He could have easily gone off on Peter. But instead, he says, Jesus restored him instead. And he made him whole again. And so in this chapter, in this section, what he does is give him a chance. Notice how he asked him 3 times. He said, do you love me? 3 times. And so instead of condemning him to hell, like, oh yeah, you rejected the Son of God, like, you're going to go to hell. He didn't do any of that. He gave him a chance. And he said, if you love me, then show it to me. If you love me, take care of my people, take care of my sheep. And so that spoke to me so loudly, because, man, it's so easy to just get mad at whatever's happening. Whenever somebody betrays us, whenever somebody comes after us, whenever somebody attacks us, it's so easy to just come after them. But it's so hard to just lay it down and just say, you know what? I love you instead. And you know what? I'm going to forgive you, and I'm going to give you a second chance. And everybody says second chance, and we way past second chances. I mean, we're at the second chance we're at is like a millionth chance by now. We've had so many chances throughout our lives. But you know what? It is what it is. We get as many chances as we want, as we should get. But it's not about the chances. It's not about, man, like, I've given you so many chances. It's not about that. It's not about them. It's about you. It's not about, oh man, you've run out of your limit of chances. What it's become now, what it should be, is I'm going to love you regardless. And I'm going to love you unconditionally, no matter what happens. And no matter what you do to me, no matter how you betray me, no matter how you backstab me, I'm going to love you regardless. And I'm going to pray for you. And I'm going to intercede for you. And even though we may be different, even though we may come from different sides, I'm going to love you regardless, man. And I'm going to pray for you, and I'm going to fight for you as my brother in Christ. And instead of when somebody backstabs me, I've learned now to look at it as Jesus will look at it, unconditionally. Instead of me coming after you and just saying, you know what, like, how dare you came after me, you backstabbed me. Instead of saying any of that, you know what, I'm going to pray for you, and I'm going to love you as my brother in Christ, because this is what Christ said to do. If we're supposed to be like Christ, how can we be like Christ if we don't act like him? How can we be like Christ if we don't read his word, if we don't study the way he did, the things he did, if we don't study how he loved one another, how he laid down his life for the people he loved, even the people that came against him. And it also talks about in the Gospels that Jesus approached the sinners and the tax collectors, and he had dinner with them. And this is so taboo back then. Like, you just don't do those things. Like, you just don't hang out with back then they were like low lives, you know, they were like nothing, they were trash people. But Jesus said, no, like, I'm gonna love you, and even though you sinned against me, even though you broke my commandments, I'm gonna love you instead, and I'm gonna have dinner with you, and I'm gonna love you as my own. And especially with all this going on right now, there's a lot of hate going on, there's a lot of unforgiveness, and there's a lot of hatred, you know. But you know what? It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't matter about how many chances you have to give. It's about you. Like, am I going to choose to be like Christ? And am I going to love you no matter what? Am I going to give you as many chances as you want? Because that's what Christ has called me to be. And instead of getting mad at you, instead of just making a list of all the wrong things you've done to me, instead, I'm just going to wipe the slate clean, and I'm going to love you like my brother. And yeah, just learn how to be like Christ, man. Just learn how to love like him, learn how to forgive, and learn how to intercede and to grow closer with one another, because at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. That's all that really matters. It's not about how much you know. It's not about who you're hanging out with. It's not about what status you have, what job you have. You know, we're all in this together, and the love of Christ is the most important thing that we can have. It's the most important thing that we can share. It's the most important thing that we can share with anybody. And to learn how to forgive no matter what. And even the people that are closest to us, those are the ones that hurt the most. Because, I mean, some stranger, if they come against me, I'm just like, okay, like, whatever. But it's the people that are closest to us, the people that we care about the most are the ones that hurt. Those are the ones that just sting. And reading about Peter and Jesus, how after he denied him 3 times, it said that Jesus looked at him. And Peter, when they made eye contact, I broke down. I was just like, wow. Because if I was in that situation, I would break down crying. Just like Peter did, because he knew, like Jesus is looking at him like, man, I loved you. Like, you were everything to me. We did everything. And here you are, like, coming against me. Like, you were my brother. And instead of just going after him, he just asked him in the end afterwards, he said, Peter, do you love me? And instead of just coming down the list like, Peter, like, I needed you. Peter, you backstabbed me. Peter, you betrayed me. Instead of saying any of that, he said, if you love me, then take care of my sheep. And he's given him a chance. He restored him back to normal. He took away his brokenness. Jesus knew that he was already broken. Jesus already knew that he was down. Why do we need to keep bringing him down if he's already down? If you already know he's a broken man, why are you going to attack him even more? If he's attacking you, it's probably because he's already broken inside. If he's already coming after you, he's probably already hurting inside. He probably has a hole in his heart. So why are you going to retaliate? Why are you going to fight fire with fire? Why are you going to fight him when he himself is already hurting? Instead of coming after him and just coming out with the list of all of his wrongdoing, why do that when instead you can love him forever? Instead, when you can pray for him and give him a chance and say, you know what, brother, I love you regardless. And you know what? We're in this together, and I'm going to love you through it all unconditionally. And I'm going to forgive you. And I'm going to show you mercy and grace because I love you. And I believe that's the most important thing that we can do right now with all this going on. This is the most important thing, to show love for one another and to show others how to be like Christ, because to be like Christ is the most important thing right now. Because people are going to look up to you and be like, I want to be like that person. I want to show love. Because this is where the fruit comes out from. This is where we can, all you Christians out there, this is how we show love. This is how we show who God is through our love, through our unconditional love. How can I be there for you even though you backstabbed me? Even though you came against me, how can I love you instead? How can I not come after you, and instead I'm gonna give you a chance to redeem yourself, and I'm gonna just pray for you that God will make you whole again. And that's the biggest word. So just stay tight. If you guys need anybody to talk to, you guys can talk to me. If you guys need prayer for anything, you come at me. I'll be here to pray for you, and you just let me know. And I'm here for anybody. And if there's anybody that I've come against, if there's anything that I've said to hurt anybody out there, please forgive me. Please let me know how we could talk about it. I'll pray for you. Pray for me too. Hopefully you can find it in your heart to forgive me. And all that matters is love. And hope you guys have a good night. Thank you.